Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for being here. I'm going to do a little video on how my art classes went for today. And I also wanted to share a few things that I have learned while doing these art classes solo this time around. So a little backstory, if you haven't been following me for a long time, I used to do live classes back in 2020, 2019, early 2020. I used to do them at a local art store called Jerry's Artorama, and it was right next door to me. The place was it's like an artist's playground. It has so many different paints and mediums and canvases and tools. I absolutely loved it there. They had a big floor for their kind of like a space. And I asked the owner if I could do classes there, and they said yes. So for quite some time, I was doing monthly classes there, just one class and just for an afternoon. But it was so much fun. And then everything shut down, and the actual store actually shut down as well. And so classes stopped for a while. Then I was invited as a guest artist to do live classes with the Fluid Art Boutique. So thank you to all of the members there. And that was so much fun. It was in Florida. I really didn't want to travel for any classes. I didn't really have the time to. And that was so much fun. And I learned a ton then as well, because that was the first time I had done a really large scale, multiple day type live classes idea. And so after that, just due to time constraints, I really didn't do any other live classes or really even any private classes for a long time. And I finally have the time, and I said, you know what? I want to start back to them. And so this month, earlier in June, I did my first solo live classes, big live classes. So I did 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And let me tell you, it was amazing. I had such a fun time meeting everybody, painting with everybody. It was a lot of work, and I got it done in a very short amount of time because of the dates that the venue could host me. And so I just want to share a little bit of the video footage that I took, and then I'll talk a little bit and maybe have a few tips and tricks if you are deciding to do those classes for yourself. So first, I want to show you kind of the setup and just a little bit of footage that I had from that day. And then I will meet you back here and we will go over some of the lessons learned. Oh my goodness. I am like an utter mess currently. I am packing up. Got all my canvases, blow dryers, paper towels, and I don't know if that'll be enough. Boxes, canvases, stir sticks, my signs, the caddies for the tables. So much stuff. A painting to give away. There is so much that we need to pack up, but I'm excited for the classes. Ready to go. Oh my gosh, y'all, look at my hair. I went out of the house like this. We're at the U-Haul place because, of course, we thought we could fit it in 2 cars and it's just too much stuff. So now we're at the U-Haul place. We were trying to do like a one-way. The owner was really nice here actually and worked with us because it was gonna be like a lot of money to actually send it, to take the car and just drop it off in Vero Beach. So at least now we've got the U-Haul. We're gonna go back, pack everything up, and get ready for the classes. So Ryan's here with me, and I'm wearing like, you know, just regular stuff, but I'm in like a green shirt and some pants. And he looked over at me just now and he said, why do we match? Look at him. Did you dress like me today? Did you do it on purpose?
No.
So we match. Look at our little shirts. You ready for the classes?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay. We're almost there.
Huh?
I wish they'd have had like a half of a U-Haul.
It doesn't matter. That paint ain't going anywhere, right?
I mean, I hope not.
It's gonna be all upside down? No.
Say hi.
Yep.
Stick your head in here so we don't get any of the houses.
I gotcha. I'm going that way anyway. Hello. Is this all good?
You're doing good, babe. All right, packing it all up. Got my little plants out, getting some sun. Just watered them all because I won't be here for a few days. So you guys be good. I'm gonna put them back inside, obviously, but it's hot. I'm hot. I am ready to get there, unload, take a shower, make sure I've got everything set up, and then prep for tomorrow. So for those that are coming, you guys will all see this later, but mwah! See you soon. Meow. Mommy and Daddy are teaching art classes. They don't care. You eating?
Yeah.
We got really hungry. We stopped at Chick-fil-A. We couldn't wait. So we haven't even hit the road yet, technically. We'll be there in like an hour and something. All right, so we had a rocky start, but we finally got it together. We made it to the venue, U-Haul and all, and got directly started unloading everything and setting up. What you didn't see before this was setting up the tables. It was just basically a blank room. And we set up the tables in this pattern, and they had the tables, the chairs, everything there already, which was amazing. I had to take multiple breaks because I had hurt my back. And for those that have asked, I am healing, but it is a slow journey. So my husband, shout out to him because he was doing all the heavy lifting of everything. But I was putting plastic down. They had tablecloths. They bought them because they have summer classes coming for children right after. But those tablecloths, I really didn't even need the plastic because they were lined with plastic underneath them. So I thought that was really great. Then I started setting out the supplies for each station. Even though I only had 2 people on Friday morning, I had sold out classes the rest of the time except Sunday afternoon. So I went ahead and just set everything up so that I wouldn't have to do too much during my lunch break for this day. I had little caddies that I'll show you in a little bit, and I set those up. I had 1 per 2 students for most of the tables, and it had scissors, stir sticks, tape, a Posca pen. It had basically everything you would need in it to create the painting, all the supplies. Then I laid out the paints on the side table, and we were basically almost ready to go at that point. It was just putting the canvases out and the finishing touches. My husband put the boxes on the other side so that he could build those. Ready for day 1. I woke up early. I had nightmares that I mixed all my paints wrong, that I didn't bring my contacts, that people weren't going to show up. It's just like nervous jitters, I guess. But I've been checking my email, making sure everybody got here okay, and it starts. Luckily, this morning is just an easy class, just a few students, and then this afternoon is sold out. So I am excited to start, and I can't wait to see everybody, and it's gonna be a good day. I just gotta get the first one out of the way. All right, we are back at the Vero Beach Art Club in Vero Beach, Florida for the classes. It is day 1, Friday morning, and I am already sweaty and almost all my curls gone, but whatever. Ryan's making boxes. I'll show you around. I added a couple more things to the table set up, so let me spin you around. I can show you. All right, so everybody's going to be able to use my art stands. Got a little blow dryer for everyone. Got a little caddy set up with everything that they would need in there. We'll be doing the swipes on the next few days. Have some color wheels because we'll be talking about color theory. I've got my little station set up. Got some snacks over here. Got all the paints. They'll be able to mix a few paints. And I am saving this. I think I'm going to be the only one that's going to operate the torches for today. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Then I've got gloves and masks for everyone. Some people have pigments. These are not really the right masks for pigments, but this is what I had. If you're working with pigments, please wear a respirator. Those tiny little particles will get everywhere. Oh, and then I need to put some tiles out. They can dip their tiles and have 2 tiles with them as well to take with them for their painting. There's all my paints. It's like its own beautiful picture. The Vero Beach Art Club is so pretty. Look at their little gallery that they have here. And then they've got another little gallery out front. So if you are in the Vero Beach area, you really should stop by. If you're just passing through, stop by. It's in a super cute, like little downtown art antique type district. Super cool, lots of restaurants around the area and so much pretty artwork, all kinds, jewelry, they have all kinds of stuff here. So it's really, really beautiful. And then over here, I've got my consistency worksheets, a document for all the students, and then I have these little gift baskets for everybody so they can raffle those off. I've got free lessons in there. I've got some of my stands. I have hidden a bottle of Australian Floetrol in there. And yeah, super excited. There's Ryan making boxes behind me. Ryan, you want to say hi? Let's go over and see him.
No, okay, I'm fine. Okay, hello.
You say hi?
Yep.
Are you excited?
Yep, very excited.
You did a really good job helping out.
Yeah.
All right, well, everybody already started all this part of it, so while I'm talking at the beginning, if you want to flip your canvases over, go ahead and there's a post-it pen in there. If you want to write your name on the back of it, writing it with a pen is fine too. It's okay. Go ahead and tape off the backs, and then go ahead and spray your canvas down. So while you are getting all this stuff ready, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about acrylic paint itself, what it is, because that's going to help you. And a lot of you actually have painted before and done everything. I still have some air bubbles in them, I'll be honest. And so I like to just mix, let them all sit, or I'll take my I'm trying to say blow dryer, y'all. The blowtorch, and torch the top of the paint. Now, I have also torched the side of the cup, and all the paint spilled out. So you have to be careful on that part.
Space, and I struggle with that. Like I don't know if
Yeah, the painting I'm going to do incorporates the rule of thirds. Okay. So I'm going to go at one of those lines. So I can show you that really quick. I need to actually prep my own canvas. I did not do that. Say, I stopped using Floetrol for this. I use Floetrol for everything else. I stopped using it for this because it creates, so you see this paint here? Every color is super duper vibrant. And there's no hazy parts on it. When you want. So this was my afternoon class, and we kind of got started and really just had some instruction, and then everyone started painting. There, Lindsay was getting some paint out of my hair because I'm a mess, always. And so everybody, this is always like the part where people get a little bit congested because they stand there thinking about what colors they want to use, what base they want. I had a couple of students that knew immediately, and then some other students that really wanted my opinion of what colors to use. And I think that that is a great teaching point as well. But we basically just got our paints and painted for the rest of class, and it was so much fun. First day is a wrap. There's nobody else here now. I even sent Ryan out with people from the Vero Beach Art Club to go. They have like a really cool Friday night art walk or whatever. So I was like, I'm just going to clean up here. You go have fun. And I had a great time with everybody today. It sucked all of my energy out. I'm going to try to recharge for tomorrow. I have a lot of the same students for tomorrow's class, but some new people as well. I feel like I talked so much and I felt like I needed to, but I'm going to try to pare that down for tomorrow a little bit. But I had a great time. I hope the people that were here had a great time. They made some beautiful paintings. I'll show you those as well. But it was a good first day. I got that one under my belt and I'm ready for tomorrow. So here are some of their paintings. Look at that one over there. They picked super beautiful colors, super beautiful paintings. They're already starting to dry. That one's so pretty. Gorgeous. They did so good. Look at that. I love these. She was playing around with transparent colors on dark bases. So pretty. But they did so good, y'all. Tomorrow is Swipe and then Dream Cloud series. End of day 2. I did not even film this morning, or I don't even remember if I filmed yesterday afternoon. I'll have to look back when I'm editing the video. I was so tired. I am so tired. I had hurt my back, and so I'm like fighting through this, but my heart is full. The students did such a good job and everyone was so nice, and I was so worried that that hope, like, just your mind runs crazy, like, are my mixtures gonna work, even though I know that they work, and did I mix them right, and did I do a good job, and did they get something out of it? I don't know. I stress. I mean, I am super A-type. I stress myself out all the time, but I had a great time. I have 2 classes tomorrow, and then it's over, and I can't believe it, and it flew by, and they did so good. I'll show you some of their work here. I'll show you, gosh, I have a lot of cleanup to do. That's what I'm doing. I sent my husband out to go. He did such a good job helping. He was he was making the boxes and all the stuff. He was like, got everybody water and made sure everybody was okay. And so now I'm cleaning up everything. So I'll show you that part a little bit. So I have got a lot of paints to clean up on the table. I mixed up entirely too much paints, but you never know what color people are gonna want. Like orange, I did not think I would use orange. I've used half of the orange. And the purple, like almost all of this purple is gone. I've gone through, obviously, black and white for the bases. Almost all of that is gone. But, yellow, thought people would use yellow. Almost nobody's used yellow. But I do have 2 classes tomorrow, so they'll use those up too. I had snacks and stuff for everybody. We mixed up some pigments at the end of class. Some students stayed extra. And now, like, here's all the setups, and I just take everything off the table and put more plastic down, put new puppy piddle pads down, and then I start over again. So that is what I'm gonna do. I am super happy. The venue was super nice. They had some cool restaurants right around the area. The Vero Beach Art Club, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. And I just, I'm feeling proud of myself. So I haven't done this by myself in a long time. So, all right, on for day 3. They did so good. Here's some of the paintings. Sorry, the lights are on it. Look at this. They did so good. If you're watching this, Lindsay and Sharon and Melissa and Diane. Oh my gosh, so good. There's more over here. Look at that one. I'm so proud of the students. Oh my gosh. So beautiful. These are all still drying. They've been taking about a day and a half to dry, which is awesome. And then the ones from the very first class, the Dutch pour, those were already dry. People took them home, but I'm so happy. Proud of the students. Wow, even watching the footage back, I had such a fun time that weekend. And I actually had hurt my back. And so I was in actually a lot of pain that weekend. I'm still recovering from that. But it was still something that'll be in my memory for a long time. I'm really proud of myself. I'm proud of my husband for helping. And I am so proud of the students because their artwork was absolutely stunning. They did such an amazing job. And feel free to leave your honest feedback if any of the students that took my classes are watching this video and in the comments. I've already gotten feedback from them, and I'll talk to you about that in just a little bit. So the first thing that you want to do if you are deciding to do classes for yourself pick some dates. And you'll want to I find that weekends are the best. Even Friday morning was a little bit difficult to book students in. That was the class that I had the least amount of people in. So if I did it again, I would probably not do a Friday morning and have my setup be Friday morning because I ended up setting up Thursday afternoon. So I would have Friday setup and then Friday night classes all day Saturday, and then maybe during the day on Sunday or maybe Sunday morning and afternoon. But picking your dates is really important. Sometimes you can work it around like a holiday weekend if you give people enough time in advance. And I would pick multiple dates because just picking one date, the venue that you choose, which we'll get to next, may not have that date available. So I would come to the venue prepared with like 2 or 3 sets of dates that would work for you and that are far enough in advance that don't be like me and post it a month before. Have it far enough in advance that you can sell enough tickets to, you're putting all this work in. You obviously want to sell the seats for the event. So make sure that you have enough time so that people can plan if they are going to travel and come see you as well. Next, you'll want to plan out what you're actually going to teach. So think about techniques that you're good at. Maybe it's not acrylic pouring. Maybe it's abstract art. Just think about what you're good at, what you are good at teaching, and what you're passionate about. And I say just go for it. I would probably stick to, I think 3 techniques was my max because each of my mediums requires, or my painting techniques required a different pouring medium or a different swipe catalyst or, whatever it may be. So I had to mix up tons and tons of paint, which I way overmixed, but I can bring that back home and I'm now going to paint with it. And I had some feedback from some students of some other ideas, what I could have done with that paint afterwards as well. But so definitely it's okay if you overmix your paints. But that was definitely a lesson learned for me because then you have to haul all those paints over to the place. But I would just pick a few techniques, even maybe just one. Say you're just doing one class. Pick one technique that you're passionate about, that you can teach really well, and that you have perfected. And I say just go for it. You also want to think about how many students you want to teach. For me, I have done mostly sets of 10 students. When I did the Fluid Art Boutique, I had 16 students and it was way too many. We could house them all. The room that we had at the Cornell Museum down in Delray, it was the prettiest venue and the rooms were huge. But I was not able in a 3-hour time limit to get around to every student the way that I wanted to and to help them. And so I have said, kind of set myself a limit to say 10 or 12 is the max amount of students that I am capable of devoting enough time to. It's not as much about the money as it is I want the students to have a good experience. So I could load up the classes. And if people do, that's, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I just want to be able to have enough time to at least interact a little bit with each student. So for me, I found my sweet spot is about 10 to 12. My Friday morning class had 2 people. They got like a private lesson. And my afternoon class, I think, had 5 or 6 in it. And the rest of them were maxed out at 10. So it's definitely, it's a lot. Even having the 2 was a lot because it was my first one. But having 10 is definitely kind of 10 or 12, I think, is my max. And that's what I have supplies for now that I have done this a few times. So I think 10 is kind of my sweet spot. So now that you have picked your dates, picked your technique, thought about how many students you want to have, now that you have that information, you can start looking for venues. And if you're doing solo classes, it's actually a lot easier to find a place, in my opinion, versus finding like multiple rooms for multiple artists. So I don't know how like the Fluid Art Experience and like FAE and FAB, I don't know how they do it because that is like a huge undertaking, and kudos to the organizers of those art classes as well. Because I was like running around with a chicken with my head cut off. Not with a chicken, but like a chicken with my head cut off for just me and dealing with just me. But for finding a venue, it's really going to depend on your location. I was lucky enough that at Artie Gras this past year, I had a follower, Michelle, come up to me and say, hey, you should really check out our art club in Vero Beach. And I thought, okay, it's about an hour and, an hour and a half away, but I went up there, I looked at the venue, and I fell in love with it. It is supporting local artists in a relatively local community, and giving back kind of to the community in Vero Beach, bringing people in. And I just thought it was super cute. I could have done something closer to me, and I will do something closer to me the next time around. But I thought that it was a super cute venue. When you're picking a venue, some places you can look are local art clubs. You can look at where other classes are being held. So like if you Google in your area and search in your area, you can go to those places. You can go to places like Michael's and see if they have a room in the back. You can go to, other local art stores and see if they have a space. A lot of times they may. You could look at your local paint and sips and see if they would be willing to rent out the room during specific times. And then you also have like your big hotel conference centers. Those typically, from my experience, are a little bit more expensive, but the hotel is right there. You don't have to worry much about accommodations for your students. And it's very easy to travel, back and forth from your room down to the actual painting classes and the site. So don't be afraid to try to negotiate pricing. So look in your area. I would get a couple of different quotes from a couple of different places. It is not cheap to do. Like it's expensive, I'll say. It can cost you, hundreds of dollars, upwards of thousands of dollars if you are going to rent the space for multiple days in a row. It won't be as much money if you're just renting it for a day or two. But like I said before, you have to account for the setup time, however long that takes you. It took us, my husband said it would take an hour. It took us about 4 hours to do. And that's like load in and then setting up the tables like you saw in the video. And then you have to have the paintings dry unless the students take them home. And then you also have your breakdown. So you really, while it could be just a day for your classes, I would tack on an extra day, either a half day before and a half day after, to kind of set up and clean up the space as well. But when you're requesting your space, you can talk with the venue about all of those things. And like I said, it is great to have the space for the students to learn in, but you also need a pretty large space to have their paintings dry. And this is, I feel like, one of the biggest things for acrylic pouring or fluid art in general. If it is wet and needs to dry, that takes up a lot of space. And I told my students that they could take them home at their own risk that day, or they could leave them and pick them up before the classes ended. I like for them to pick them up the next day. That way that makes room for the next students, but they're doing 2 canvases. And if you have sold out classes, that is a lot of boxes of canvases. So speaking of boxes, I've gotten this question before. To transport them, and I got this idea from Karen from Waterfall Acrylics when I did the FAB. They all made boxes for their students to take them home in. And boxes are expensive, like a couple of dollars per box, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're having to buy 160 boxes, it gets pretty expensive. So what I did actually, and this is a little tip, I bought, instead of buying the flat mailer boxes from Uline, I got the bigger, and Walmart actually has them too, but I've been trying to use Uline. I got the thicker boxes, the one that's 3.5 to 4 inches deep. And I cut that box in half. So we made the box and then cut it in half. And that actually worked perfect. And it cut my cost on the boxes by half. So my husband, shout out to him because he helped me with so much stuff over that weekend. While the students were painting, he was actually making the boxes and getting all of that stuff set up. And the students wrote their name on the canvas and the box so that we could match them up. I did have a few students that I'm actually going to meet to give them their paintings back to let them dry, the ones that were in the last day of classes, and also some that I'm going to mail for people that traveled. So I had people from Seattle, from Ohio, and from Washington, D.C. So I was so surprised that so many people traveled that far on such short notice that it was crazy. It made me happy. I appreciate y'all so much. So once you have decided on, your classes, your class size, your techniques that you're going to do, and now you have secured your venue, you need a way for your students to sign up. So for me, I'm lucky enough that I own my website and I built a page for it, and I just had one link, sent people to that, and had a product for each morning and afternoon session. And so people, just like they could buy my paint stands or a painting, they could purchase the class, and it was automated through the website. Now I had to go in and I'm sure I definitely know with either Zapier or something like that I could have then put those people into a spreadsheet with their emails and everything. But I manually did that. So I had each day, I watched as they filled up. The website tells me when I'm sold out, which is great. And I took all their emails and names and compiled a list so that I could send out emails to them, which I did before and after the classes, before to tell them what's going on and after to get their feedback. So once I did all of that on the website and added pictures and everything, and then it was live, and then I could promote. So I promoted on all my social media. I promoted on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram stories where they have the swipe up feature. So I did all of that, and through my email subscriber list. And that's where I do most of my kind of info as things are coming out, when I have time for private lessons, when I have time for, the live classes, when I have shows. All of that stuff goes out through my email subscriber list. So if you haven't subscribed to that already, you can head over to mollysartistry.com and sign up for that. And I send out like a weekly newsletter of just my thoughts and my current painting that I'm working on and my current YouTube video, things like that. So I had my website up and running and went live and sold as many tickets as I possibly could before the date. Once I started getting signups, then it was time to purchase all of the supplies. And I purchased just with the assumption that I would sell out every class. And of course I didn't. My Friday morning and my Sunday afternoon, I didn't. And so I still have, some supplies left over. But for me, I would rather have those supplies than, run out. What if one of the canvases comes in damaged? What if I run out of something? And I did run out of things. So don't be like me. I did great on ordering supplies, but I did not check what I already had on my shelf. And I did not anticipate for my pouring medium, it taking so much of my gloss medium varnish and the Floetrol. So here's me and my husband a day and a half before we leave for the classes, and we are going around to every single Home Depot in our area trying to find Floetrol because they were out. So don't be like me. Plan ahead for your pouring mediums as well as your paints and all of your other supplies. For the canvases, I used Blix and Michaels, and I actually took a spreadsheet and priced out a lot of things. So I went on Blix and Michaels and looked at their kind of packs of canvases. And I did use level 1, so the thin type canvases for this, because it is just practice for a lot of the students. And I recognized at the time that Blix actually, for their student grade canvases, just back stapled, they were actually, I don't remember if they were on sale, but it was actually cheaper by like 40 cents per canvas, which doesn't sound like a lot. But again, if you're buying a lot of them, it was cheaper than Michaels at the time. And that was even buying the in bulk pricing or comparing the in bulk pricing at Michaels. So I decided to go with Blix. Blix is where I bought most of my paints as well. I then went to Amazon and Walmart and price compared those two. They were pretty similar. Some things for Walmart Business, which again, shout out to Karen because she told me about that. Walmart Business was cheaper than some of the same products on Amazon. So I had to do price comparisons of both of those. If you're not as worried about that, then I would just pick a supplier that you're comfortable with and go with them. But I was really trying to see if this was feasible, in the future, and wanted to really figure out like where could I get the best deals for the products, because I had to buy a lot of supplies. You don't even think about some of them. And this is not a comprehensive list, but like cups, stir sticks, tweezers, scissors, tape for them to tape off the back, thumbtacks and I even brought my stands, but because they are going to sit in a box, they still needed the thumbtacks underneath them. The paints, the pouring mediums, the jugs that are going to hold your paint unless you're having your students mix it there, which me personally, I feel like I would need like a 5-hour class if I was going to have the students mix their paints, because that in itself, to mix 4 or 5 paints up, takes about 30 to 45 minutes, really. And so I pre-mixed all the paints and then showed them how I mixed it, let them feel it for consistency, things like that. And that worked best for me. And I didn't get too much feedback that people didn't like that. What I did a couple of years ago was had them mix one of their paints themselves, pick a color, and then they could mix up whatever whichever color they wanted. And then the rest of them were already mixed. That way they got a feel for it. But again, that took up a little bit of time. People were kind of standing at the mixing table for a while and it kind of congested things. So I now mixed up a lot of the paints myself. Now, I mixed up a ton of colors. You really don't need to. You can pick, I would say, mix up your blues because everybody loves blues. Surprisingly, orange went pretty fast. I used almost no red, very little green, tons of turquoise and those types of colors, a little bit of yellow, not as much purple as I thought either. So the colors that I thought would be going definitely didn't go. And I think people also used similar colors to what I did in my demonstrations because they like those as well. But I was actually surprised. So when I do them again, I probably will have a little bit less colors. And I think what I'll do is make extra of the primary colors. So magenta, primary yellow, and cyan or phthalo blue. I will take those and show the students how to mix colors out of those colors. So definitely have enough of your white and black for your base coat, if that's what you're going to be using for your base coat. And then a few select colors, I think, would have done me better than mixing up literally a whole table of like every color paint that I had. So then after I mixed up all those paints, the day we went to load the truck, I looked at how many supplies I had. And in my mind, I just thought, okay, this is what I've got. It was the boxes, it was the canvases. The rest of the stuff was kind of small. And then there were the paints. And me and my husband looked at it all that day. I set it all out, made a checklist of everything. And he said, Molly, there's no way this is fitting in 2 cars. And I was like, yep, you're right. So we had to go and get a U-Haul. Then we had to figure out how to get the U-Haul up there and return it up there. I mean, it was a whole ordeal the day of, and I'm already stressing out. So that's another tip. Make sure your transportation of all of your supplies, that you have that like solidified way beforehand, so that you can pack up with ease the day of and just kind of get going. So I set up every day. So I set up on Thursday afternoon for the first day of classes, and you saw that in the video. And then I also set up in between each class for lunch, when the classes were actually going, I would reset for the next class. And so my husband actually gave me this tip, which worked out really well. We did 2 hours in between classes instead of the hour like I had done previously. And I used to basically like not eat or just shovel food in my mouth while I was trying to get everything set up. But that is a couple fold. So it allows for students to like talk with you for a second and ask you questions. I always still feel rushed at the end of a class trying to get people out and get new people in. People do show up early, so you don't really have 2 hours. You maybe have an hour and a half. If you have a helper, then they can go and get you lunch, or you can pack your lunch. But it allowed me a little bit more time to not feel so rushed setting up the next class, cleaning off all the utensils, cleaning up anything on the floor, and just kind of resetting and taking a breath. So shout out to my husband for that recommendation, because I think that was a good amount of time in between. So once everything is set up, you just meet people, teach, and have fun. And that is what it's all about. I messed up a few times. Like I said, I misspoke, or I said the wrong thing, and we all had a good laugh about it. You're human. You are not supposed to be some, super professional, person that's teaching a million people something. Like, you are just having fun with your students, and they obviously want to be there to study with you, to learn from you, and to meet you. So it's just, I am just a little bit A-type in my regular life. So it's a little bit harder for me for those types of things. But I did definitely have a lot of fun with that. But you just go, teach, have a good time and really enjoy the process and enjoy your students. Encourage them to talk to each other. A little bit of feedback I had was at the beginning, I just kind of jumped right in. But the students said they actually would have liked to have gotten to know each other, where they're from, where they're at in their art journey, and gotten a little bit of background, because truly some of these students really connected with each other and, exchanged numbers and tried to figure out how they could get together and paint. And really it's building a community, especially if they live around that area. And so that was something that I have taken into account for the next time that I do classes as well, but maybe could set you up for success if you are deciding to do classes for yourself. I did have name tags for everybody as well, and I kind of greeted everyone as they came in and got a little bit of their backstory. But I think it would be nice to have everybody kind of share a little bit at the beginning. But you need to build that time into the class. So me, talk a lot. Who could have ever thought that, right? As I make this like 20 or 30 minute video. But I had different types of material. I had written material for them because people learn in different ways, right? So I tried to have written, verbal, where I talked to them about what was on the written list, and I talked to them, they asked questions as we went along. I showed them things as questions went along. A couple of times we went over to the colors and the mixing table and talked about that kind of color theory. And then I had a demonstration, myself doing it, and then them doing it. And they got to do 2 canvases. So I tried to encompass every kind of learning technique there was, because people learn in different ways. And I have had students say that they found that really helpful because they could write down what they wanted, go back to that written sheet whenever they wanted to look up a specific recipe, but then they had some time to play around. For my next set of classes, I'm going to shorten the didactic lesson. I may even do a beginner and intermediate class, maybe one on the same day. And so for the intermediate class, I don't have to go over all the first information about what is acrylic paint, color theory, all of that stuff, the reactions that you get in acrylic pouring, and really focus on more on true color theory and how to select the colors for your paintings and how to do some different techniques and, more intermediate type things. So it was fun, but I definitely would reduce my talking back a little bit. But having all of those kind of methods of learning for the students, I felt and from their feedback, they said was really beneficial. So prior to class, I sent out an email to them with just instructions, parking, all of that stuff. And then afterwards, I sent out an email, and I'm terrible. I still have to send all the documents to the students, but I sent out an email thanking them and soliciting feedback from them. And from that feedback, I got lots of great ideas, and feedback is not there to harm you. Being chronically online for the past almost 7 years now, putting myself out there, you get lots of unsolicited feedback. But when you solicit feedback, I want them to be as honest as possible, because all it's going to do is make it better for the next set of people that come in. So they actually had some great feedback. We talked about being able to practice a little bit more. We also talked about being able to maybe purchase some of the paints that I had already mixed up to take home, just so that they don't maybe have to buy all the ingredients right then and there if they just want to do a couple more canvases. One student recommended maybe to have the have like an extra area where if they wanted to do a third canvas or a fourth canvas, have that built in, where they wouldn't necessarily get instruction from me, but if they wanted to practice a little bit more, they could purchase the extra supplies to paint on their own. Again, when you do start to get kind of in a vibe and you're painting and you're having a good time, I personally find it hard to stop. So that feedback was actually really, really good feedback, and something that I will try to do in the future. I think I missed talking about this in the venue section of it, but one feedback for a couple of people was if you're traveling in, you want to make sure your venue is by an international airport, because this was not. This was by a regional airport, and the international airport was like an hour away. And unfortunately, some people had to commute to the place after the international airport. So that was definitely something that I will keep in mind for the future. I just really like this venue and like the people and their message behind the venue, and wanted to support the artist community there. But duly noted for the future for sure. I feel like it was a really rewarding experience. I feel like I learn every time I do this. It is a lot to take on, a lot of stress. It's not for everybody, but it can be really rewarding, even if you keep it small. One class, 10 people, and that's it. It can be really, really rewarding, and you can profit from it as well. You can make a little bit of money from these for sure, but it's just such a fun experience. Me and my husband have decided we are going to do them again. I am giving ample months notice this time, not 30 days. But we are looking, I think, sometime in September, and I think the classes are going to be in closer to me in South Florida. So either West Palm Beach area, Delray area, Boca, somewhere around that area. So we're looking at venues now, and I will keep you updated. So if you do want to join my email list, then I can let you know there, or I can let you know on here. I'll post in the community tab. But I just shout out to the students. Such a fun day, such a fun weekend, so nice to meet everybody, and a big shout out to my husband for helping with all of this. I couldn't really do any of this without him. This was just kind of, I don't want to get too much. I probably could do like a 4-hour video on all of the stuff that I've learned about doing art classes, but I wanted to give you a snippet into my life and how this went. And if you have any questions, specific questions, or if you have done classes yourself and want to put anything into the comment box, I do try to read those the first couple days that the video comes out. So if you want to leave me a comment, I will try to answer it. And thank you so much all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this little snippet of my life video, and happy painting.